Namaste दोस्तों, welcome to Global Focus. I am your host Hari Sinha. Today's episode comes at a time when global headlines are dominated by rising tensions in West Asia. The Iran-Israel war is no longer a distant regional conflict. It's rapidly evolving into a crisis with global economic shockwaves, threatening energy security, trade routes, and financial stability across continents. To help us decode the deeper strategic and economic implications of this conflict, especially for nations like India, we are joined by Saptarshi Basu, a seasoned geopolitics expert and a dynamic educator, known for breaking down complex issues with clarity and insight. Stay with us as we unravel how this war could impact the fuel in your car, the prices in your kitchen, and the policies in your parliament. So, Saptarshi Basuji, welcome to our platform once again.
Good morning and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are moving to the first question. How vulnerable is the global economy to disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, and what contingency plan exists? So, what's your comment?
Something around 40% of the oil trade going eastward,
Yeah.
or even more than that, 40 to 50% of the oil trade going eastward originates from the Straits of Hormuz. Others can be basically from the um, uh, Red Sea and the other straits, maybe Nile and Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah.
So if Straits of Hormuz is blocked, then the vulnerability is that there will not be sufficient number of ports for all the countries or the oil producing nation, especially the Emirates, to be exported from the straits into the uh, Eastern Maritime Highway. They call that the Maritime Silk Route is a maritime highway corridor where maximum amount of oil trade takes place, because you see Straits of Hormuz and the MENA, Middle East North African region, is the oil producing sector. While most of the major economies which are on the oil consuming sector either lie far east of the Straits of Hormuz, or they are across the Nile in the Mediterranean, or they are on the far west on the American side or the African side. So technically speaking, if the oil has to move on the global economy and the global uh, consumption has to be catered to, then the Straits of Hormuz will have a fundamental role in that. Any geopolitical disturbance in the Straits of Hormuz or near Bab el Mandeb, near the Nile exit, near Horn of Africa, there is the geopolitical and barometric temperature of the global trade. And for last 3 to 4 years, from the time of COVID, there has been no good news coming for the international global trade.
Nice.
One after another, there are news of recession, and recovery is being delayed by geopolitical conflict. So, under these circumstances, uh, the Straits of Hormuz and the present conflict between Israel and Iran becomes extremely sensitive.
Nice. So, what lessons should India draw from the crisis in terms of diversifying its energy sources and routes?
First of all, India should draw conclusion from the history of Second World War. The Germany lost the Second World War, despite fantastic industrial capacity, one of the best and most professional army and legendary generals and a nationalistic leader and a fully mobilized population. Due to basic resource crunches, Germany was deficient in few things like coal, like and mostly petroleum. Petroleum, they wanted the North African region, especially the Nile, for their oil supply, which was hotly contested in Egypt by Britain. And right in the Battle of Aden, there Hitler's army after the Battle of Tobruk got defeated, and Rommel was called back to England. And whatever was the submarine and the tankers which were being supplied for the Hitler's war effort was being targeted very effectively by the Allies, thereby creating severe fuel shortages for mobilizing its armor as well as the aircraft, air power. Almost similar situation was there for Japan. Japan was forced into war due to the strangulation of oil supply by US, and the Pearl Harbor had happened. So it is understood that for a economy sensitive economy like India, whose growth is totally dependent on the fossil fuels, and majority of the fossil fuels which is there, independent sourcing of fossil fuels as well as energy sources, and going on to the nuclear bandwagon or probably something else, is a mission critical or a national, I would say, survival criticality. We have to understand that as China has always been bothered about the Malacca dilemma, India should also be extremely concerned about the sourcing and development of its oil resources. Having said that, we must not forget that our oil exploration needs much more to be desired, and something on that in the policy making body needs to have a strategic look at that. India, as per some research, has more than enough sufficient resources of oil in the Andaman Nicobar, which now is being discussed about by our Honorable Minister Hardeep Singh Puriji. But this fact was known somewhere around in 1970s and 80s. And the government of the day, under the pressure of the oil lobbies, had never decided to explore that. What we have to keep in mind that such oil fields do not get discovered or do not get developed in a matter of few years or 5 years or 3 years. They take at least a decade or 15 years to fully develop, function with the logistics, supply chain and pipelines and ports and tank farms, etc. It's a very heavy infrastructure, heavy consent. So we have somehow missed the bus. Also, we have to understand that hydrated methane and thorium research, in which both China has taken the lead and stolen the march from India. India is remotely adequately blessed with that. But unfortunately, despite the second largest pool of scientists in the world and with the technological know-how, how to implement it, sufficient policy backup and resources have not been given in order to make it a national priority and energy security a matter of national security. So this is something we need to understand, that energy security transcends to national security in terms of crisis. Sir, I lost you are in mute, sir.
Sorry. So could this conflict accelerate the global transition to renewable energy, or will it entrench fossil fuel dependency?
The conflict has all the parameters of acceleration, because of the geopolitical interest which is driving it. The conflict, the seed of today's conflict between Israel and Iran had been sowed on 7th of October 2023, when the dastardly attack took place on the Yom Kippur day of the innocent civilian partying on the beaches. From that day onwards, it is known fact that those who were involved in the second largest genocide of Jews after the Auschwitz and the Second World War will not be spared. Footprints of countries like China, Pakistan, Iran were directly involved, and Iran's proximity and its proxies directly targeting Israel had foretold that one day or the other, when the proxies would have been taken care of, the state of Iran will take its revenge by entering Iran. If you see our epic Ramayana, almost same strategy, probably as per our epics, lakhs of years before, has been done by Prabhu Sri Ram, who first defeated all the allies of the demon king Ravan and then entered Lanka to extract his vengeance and his wife. So similarly, this is a conflict which has been growing for some time. It's an existential conflict, and what is told by Samuel Huntington, a classic case of clash of civilizations. And in order to put petrol to this fire, China has been very quietly supplying as many munitions as possible to Iran to strengthen it. Through this, China will do three things. It will be able to create a market for a sanctioned country and get cheap Iranian oil in return, which it needs to survive. Number two, it will create testing ground for all its defunct equipment and try to correct their stolen designs, which is mostly from reverse engineering of the Russian platforms. Number three, it will create excessive pressure on Israel, whereby forcing America to act in very, very large manner, thereby commitment of American resources, personnel, and naval assets to the Middle East, or CENTCOM Center, as they call it, the CENTCOM Joint Command. It is the central command placed near the Middle East, where anything to do with oil, America gets very sensitive because oil is pegged against dollar. And that is the black gold which is keeping the dollar relevant. So America will have to get involved. Thereby, it will have to pull out all its resources from the South China Sea, from the defense of Taiwan to the Middle East sector, which has already happened. Now, if this thing keeps on there and America gets bogged down, it is the golden opportunity for China to realize its 2047 dream. Now that America and India there has been a geopolitical rift that has been created. There has been, the Quad has been weakened significantly. Pakistan has been playing the midwifery between China, America, Iran, and Russia, trying to complicate the geopolitical mosaic, which is already messed up. It will be very, very convenient to see that all the anti-Sino alliances which had been cobbled up for a very long time in last 5 to 10 years have been technically or ideologically undone due to recently Mr. President Trump's sudden change in direction of foreign policy. And NATO has also been weakened, and Turkey, being a part of NATO, is going to the left axis or going to the Warsaw country or pre-Warsaw or post-Warsaw countries. So under these circumstances, the NATO alliance itself gets highly complicated and should any of the NATO countries get hit, which is a possibility, the war will spiral out into a second world war, a third world war, because Russia has valid interests. China is going to probably attack Taiwan, where the theaters of conflict will cross the maybe 70% of the global map, and tremendous resources will be funneled towards conflict, and the geopolitical balance due to criticality of technologies like the semiconductor technology of Taiwan, the world will hang in balance, and it is a possibility that the world economy, which is still teetering on the verge of collapse but not yet collapse, may suddenly undergo a solid recession. And whenever such collapse and such bank runs or the derivative market collapse has happened, conflict all over the world has spiraled due to increasing poverty and hopelessness. Sir, you are mute.
So, how should India manage inflationary pressures and fiscal risks stemming from oil prices volatility?
India should basically try to broker peace between Iran and Israel. It is now understood that Israel, having had the upper hand
Hmm.
and having significantly weakened the present Iranian regime,
Hmm.
may go for a regime change. Under these circumstances, new challenges and complications will come up. The old Pahlavi regime,
Hmm.
which had been extremely West friendly and a very great friend of Israel, Israel's basic concept is to bring them back. But we must not forget the Pahlavi regime has been extremely and rabidly anti-Indian right from its last inception, so much so that they had given active support to Pakistan, including the aviation fuel as well as aircraft and so on and so forth. So, in case regime change happens, India has to weigh its option extremely carefully, that it will then have a force multiplier with Pakistan.
Hmm.
Pakistan, which has got cheap Iranian oil,
Hmm.
which comes out of sanction and being anti-India,
Hmm.
may create far greater challenges than is today. At the same time, India has to somehow disrupt and destroy the Chinese influence and the Chinese supply chain of military hardware,
Hmm.
which is flowing into Iranian hands by help of Israel and it's one of the most able intelligence agencies. Because if China can build an equation with Iran, the earlier famed axis of evil of PRICT, that is Pakistan, Iran, Russia, North Korea, and Turkey. That axis of evil is extremely dangerous for the existence of the country as well as India's all geopolitical aims, including viable infrastructure projects like EMEC, BIMSTEC, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So India has lot of stake, though it cannot take sides because it has got friendly relation with both the regimes. And not to forget, India's largest overseas investment of Chabahar port lies in uh, Iran, which is being bombed. At the same time, our heavy investment is there in Haifa, which is again being struck by Iranian missile. So whichever side we are going, we are in the losing sector, and the rise in prices of the oil is not helping the economy at the same time.
Yes.
So this war is very ominous and bad news for the Indian people, because when two great civilizations fight, both which are friendly, India can see no winners. and it has very few limited geopolitical options regarding siding with any side of the winner or loser.
So what does the Iran-Israel conflict reveal about the shifting nature of warfare in 21st century, especially the move from proxy to direct confrontation?
The the nature of warfare from the second warfare, or what we call the third generation warfare, 3GW, has completely and effectively transitioned to what I can say a 5GW or a 4GW, fourth generation or fifth generation warfare, where war is not only fought on the three medias of air, water, and surface, and probably subsurface being the submarine. A war is being fought on the electromagnetic media in the informational and cognitive spaces. Israel is doing its best to rake up the rebellion of the Iranian people against the Ayatollah regime by using all sorts of all levers of cognitive methods in which they have great mastery and understanding. Iranians at the same time are using auxiliaries and non-state actors such as the sub-conventional warfare operatives like mercenaries like Hezbollah, like the Houthis, like the irregulars, like the stateless actors which are being launched against Israel to carry out disruption and damage to its infrastructure and trying to create terror and death and mayhem to its people. This is also giving ideas to terrorist state like Pakistan to come up with similar strategies against India. The war is going from a purely movement and lines drawn war to a war where there is no battlefront, there is no rear, there is no front of the enemy. Today, you can Israel's capacity to send the Kardon department or division deep into Iran to launch drones inside Iran to destroy its launcher has totally given credence, far more credence, to special forces based operation rather than regular heavy maneuver based, echelon based, mechanized mechanized and army and combined armed tactics, which was the hallmark of third generation warfare or the conventional warfighting strategies. Today, drone warfare has triumphed over artillery and missiles. Drone storm can basically carry out a siege operation, that is what we call suppression of enemy air defenses, of a very, very capable air defense system and saturate the space. Today, multiple drones launched from any places will require 10 to 20 to 30 times the cost for on the enemy side or on the receiving side in terms of ballistic missile defense or air defense system to intercept and destabilize it. So technologies like microwave arrays and microwave radars, which can act with what is traditionally, which is presently known as DEM, directed energy munition systems, to effectively destroy drone swarms, are going to be the force multiplier rather than large missiles and large stockpile of nuclear and non-nuclear explosives. Today it has been seen that Iran did not lack at all in ballistic capabilities. In fact, it had the most powerful missile inventory and the drone inventory in the entire Arab and the Islamic world. But within few days of the conflict, it has been literally brought down to its knees, where
mm,
the mobile launchers, which is traditionally known to be extremely difficult to intercept,
mm,
has been targeted and destroyed. So the complete second strike capability which Iran had developed by fortified structures and underground bunkers, having kilometers of repair facilities and probably airfields which have been dug into inside the mountains, and deeply buried and hardened targets which are now being taken out by MOPs or GBO 57 as they are called, global GPS based munitions or massive penetrator ordnance or material ordnance penetrators dropped from B-2 bombers. So all these traditional concepts of fortification, concepts of air defense system, concepts of A2AD, anti-access and air deny, anti-access and area denial strategies made by conventional systems like chain guns, missile batteries,
mm,
air defense activated, radar activated systems have now been challenged by the new type of threats which are emerging in the horizon. And what has been seen is by a very, very small country, which is 20% the size of Israel geographically, having an excellent ISR capability, that is intelligence, uh, intelligence, social, and reconnaissance capabilities, married with the C4 command control cohesion, can give such a tremendous advantage to a almost parallel or the enemy of almost double the size, that such kind of warfare has never been seen in past. And it may be said that the Israel-Iran conflict is redefining warfare as
mm,
the warfare or global pundits of warfare have been knowing. And it has been seen that the upset in the power and the tactics and the strategies has been far more than what we have seen in the Ukraine is Russian conflict. So, what I can say conclusively, the Iran-Israel warfare is a new advent in the chapter of warfare where the earlier systems of warfare and capabilities have been made useless and redundant, and strategists will need to learn and unlearn this form of warfare for the future conflicts to come.
So, sir, we have only 4 minutes of time left and we have five more questions. So, should we do part two today? Can we do?
We can do the part 2 today.
Okay, so give me some time, 5 minutes, and then I'll be sending link to you. And we are going to wrap up this. So thank you, friends. So this was the discussion. We have more questions for Saptarshi Basu. So we'll be coming again in 5 minutes of time. So if you like the video and if you learned something, please like the video and share the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you, Saptarshi Basu. A very big thank you to you. So we'll be coming again with more questions. Thank you so much.